All right, media skeptics, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking about real or fake media in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Working on that intro still. So we're going to say fake media and media skeptics. How's that? So the media has been reporting in my home state that the governor and the legislature here are total mean people because we have nowhere to put so-called migrants. All right, we'll just use that term. They're not citizens, and they're being brought here by organizations like, Catholic Charities. Now, there is an argument, and for those of you who've watched this channel for quite some time, you know that I am compassionate when it comes to how we destabilize other countries, like what we did in Afghanistan for 20 years. And then, the Taliban walks in, and now these people have to literally leave, or they're probably going to be killed. So I understand that. I understand that our meddling in South America, in certain countries, has caused a lot of people to start to, migrate to the north. And our current so-called president has basically put a vacancy sign up saying, come on in. There's plenty of room. Well, here in Florida, we're not having that stuff. At least the people who run the state are saying, look, we have nowhere to put the people who are already here. All right. We've got a huge housing crisis. We've got this huge boom as far as people moving here, but needing housing. And we've got a homeless, problem in addition to that. So now you're going to dump migrants who've come here from south of the Mexican border, right? And also Afghan refugees who I think are far more legitimate in their claim because, look, the US government for 20 years screwed up their country. We didn't stabilize their country. We didn't make their country safer. We made it a playground for our military, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm just saying that for military contractors and people who love the war machine, that was 20 years worth of nothing. All right. It may have had a goal initially after we were attacked, but we learned not too far after that that this was just some kind of a long-term military operation, mostly to the benefit of companies like Northrop Grumman and Raytheon and the usual suspects who are getting huge military contracts, right, from the government. Catholic Charities is also what they call an NGO, which is a little bit different from, a corporation, but a corporation can be an NGO, and they're not called an NGO. So the story goes like this. Catholic Charities is the largest NGO involved in the trafficking of illegal aliens on both sides of the border. Think what that means. The media is reporting that they're doing great charitable work. I'm sure they would tell you they're being humanitarian, they're being awesome. This is what God would do. This is what Jesus would do. A lot of people have like only one side of what Jesus would do. Anyway, Catholic Charities receives millions of dollars in federal grants to essentially operationalize what Joe Biden and his administration are doing when it comes to illegal aliens. The government isn't really doing this directly. It's Catholic Charities. And it's crazy because a bus will show up, and I've seen this footage, and it's out there, you can watch it, where military-age men get off the bus. And there's no women, there's no children. I'm not saying that there aren't women and children coming here, but when the majority of people are all military-age men, you've got to kind of question, okay, what are they escaping from? They don't look, malnourished. They're wearing Nike shoes. I'm totally at a loss as to how this is happening. And even more disturbing how the media portrays this like, oh, you're a mean person. So in Florida, they're trying to stop this. They're trying to pass a bill against it. And then they had this Latino boy get up there and speak to the legislature and say, why do you hate people like me? Why? And what's going to happen is 80% of the people, and this is what the media puts out, 80% of the people watching it go, wow, we are so mean. We're the mean. Look, we are the greatest, or we're the greatest country. Florida, I'm sure, has taken in its share of migrants. I understand the economy now is based on cheap labor and exploiting cheap labor. And we're doing that. For my libertarian friends who think that's going to help the situation, we are doing that, okay? Hispanics are hardworking. They're religious. I think what we ought to do at the border is have another team go down there and say, hey, we're from whatever organization. We're from the Love the Constitution, Understand the Bill of Rights coalition. And we're here to welcome you to the United States with the Constitution, a copy of the Holy Bible, and maybe we can help you learn about America, and then maybe we can, help you, give you a hand up instead of just a hand out. We also need to get your name, where you came from, what you're all about. If you don't have an ID from the country of origin, we're not going to accept you into our program. But otherwise, we might. See, there could be an answer to this Catholic charity madness. The problem is the Catholic Church has been a money laundering institution for decades. And everybody thinks on the surface, there are nice blue-haired ladies that are trying to do good. And you realize that, that's just a front to what they're actually doing. And a lot of those people may be well-intentioned. The media will portray them all as saints. And this is God's work. And God would never turn away an immigrant, and so forth. So it's a really gut-wrenching, difficult argument, emotional argument to try to pry away from the ordinary citizen just trying to figure this out and going, okay, well, we have no room. We're running out of money. Interest rates are going up. The national debt is 30 trillion. How are we taking in more people? Now, am I bad? Am I a xenophobe for wanting to shut this whole thing down? Because that's what I want. I want this shut down because we have no idea. And by the way, a lot of these people coming over the border aren't being tested for anything. Whereas you're going to have to test, 11 times in a month in order to go to your job in some cases. By the way, if you have a job like that, you need to quit and find another job. That's another thing. The problem with all of this is people think that an organization like Catholic Charities is like doing the will of God, and their theology is so warped and out of place. In the Bible, it says, if you don't work, you won't eat. It says that in there. It's kind of an important concept. If you don't work, you won't eat. Now, some of these people might go to work somewhere, and I wouldn't deprive them if their motives are good and they're not on like the most wanted list in El Salvador. I think maybe you want to give people a chance, but you need a process. I'm not against immigration. I'm against the kind of immigration we are seeing now. It's an endless flow of humanity, and there's no way that we can keep track of it all. And the government is paying these NGOs to go out there and basically be a front group and put a happy spin, a smile on this invasion, because that's what it is. It's an invasion. Now, would Canada permit an invasion at their southern border? No, of course not. No way. And most countries, most sovereign countries on the planet wouldn't do it. Now, except maybe Germany these days. There might be a couple others. Sweden was doing it. And their culture, everything has just... Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that. I mean, you can certainly see the difference between the way things used to be, where we encouraged people to learn the culture, understand the language, be a part of this tapestry of different nationalities and different traditions. Those are all good things. That was a concept, I think, that worked fairly well for, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred years. And then politicians started earning brownie points with their constituents. And it just kept escalating as they kept encouraging more behavior that was outside of that purview. At some point, we've got to get America back to being America. And we can't just open up the borders and allow this to continue. We at least need to streamline our process at the very least. And yes, do I believe in a barrier, a wall? Absolutely, 100%. I mean, it's like if I don't believe in the front door of my house, we don't need a front door. I mean, that's just crazy. Or if you live in a gated community, well, we don't really need gates. You know, you can go right down. Well, why does the White House have walls and barriers that they built? You know, this, once you think this out a little bit, you're just like, okay. I mean, I've won that argument. Sorry, I've won. I know you're going to tell me, no, we just let people in. Okay. Are there any other things we can do? We could see motive. We could see need. Like if a woman, a single mother and her child are here and the child looks malnourished, yeah, that might be a job for Catholic Charities, not taking government funding, but actually taking money from the people who go to church, right? Because that's the way it used to be. But now these are all just arms of, and there's so many arms, tentacles, you know, it's a web, it's a crazy web. And this is a great front group, by the way, to make people think that this is just a wonderful charitable thing that these people are doing. And I believe it's also a form of human trafficking, and they are going along with it. Are they insisting the people that come through this program worship at a church somewhere? And, you know, are they accountable to that organization, or are they just placed somewhere in the United States with other people who've already gone through this process? I don't understand it, and I don't understand why our citizens are putting up with it. The only reason most people accept this is because they're being told what a wonderful work this is, and thank God for Catholic Charities. And I'm sure you can give your tax deductible donations to them. They don't need them though, because they're getting all of this, you know, bailout money and stuff that, you know, we're supposed to be seeing out here for the people who lost their jobs, who lost their livelihoods, who don't have enough food. There's already a crisis out here, and they're just adding a crisis on top of that crisis. And then you've got the supply chain problems. How are you going to feed all these people? What are we going to do? Seriously, the homeless population, all the problems we have. And we've got NGOs just doing the bidding of an administration that basically is failing at everything that they try to do. And as far as my opinion on illegal immigration, that word illegal is kind of important. Even if you change the laws and streamlined it and said, okay, people can come here, but there need to be stipulations to that. You loosened it up, but you said, look, why are you coming here? And we need to know motives. We need to know your background. We need to know your history. This isn't like I'm doing this because I want to violate the privacy of these people. It's like, what's their motivation for coming here, right? You need certain forms of ID in this country to do things. Like, you should have an ID to vote, for instance. That's not a difficult thing. You need an ID to drive your car, right? You need to have a license. So I don't understand why this is so difficult for a small segment of our population. Most people want to know who's coming into my house. Why are they coming into my house? Are they going to stay? Do they have, you know, a goal? Are they going to try to become a productive citizen? Or are they going to be used by other people to facilitate real evil things like human trafficking? And these things we need to know. We could save lives if we knew the motivation or the background of some of these people, but we're never going to do it if the media continues to just cover this up. So again, Florida legislature doing a good thing. There are other states, I'm sure Arizona, Texas, I'm sure there are a lot of states out there that are like, well, the federal government has this upside down. And even if you're for a more progressive view on immigration, I think you've got to recognize that our country right now is in no condition to welcome so many people without any conditions and without doing any sort of background and not understanding, you know, our customs and our laws and what are their motivations. You know, these are questions that need to be answered. So in any event, next time you see a sign for Catholic Charities, it's not a good thing. It's sad. You know, that church used to be okay when I was a little kid, used to be an okay church. They've had scandal after scandal after scandal. And I'm thinking right now it's just another corrupt government run, government financed institution that probably needs to be shut down, because this is like racketeering. This is just real bad stuff.